There are nights when the heart feels far from home, when the soul aches quietly, longing for a place of belonging that this world cannot give. It is not loneliness exactly, but a yearning deeper than words, a pull toward peace, toward the nearness of something holy and whole. Have you ever felt that gentle ache? That soft longing that rises when the world grows still, and all that remains is a quiet desire to be near God? Take a slow, deep breath. Let it fill your chest softly. Hold it there for a moment, and then release it slowly. Let your shoulders fall. Let the air around you settle. The noise of the day fading. The restlessness of the mind unwinding. Now, it's only you, and the quiet whisper of heaven drawing you closer. If these stories bring you peace, take a moment to like this video. Subscribe for more nightly reflections, and share where you're listening from tonight. Your words and presence help keep this space warm and growing. Now, take another slow breath. Let's begin. The psalmist once wrote, "How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord of hosts! My soul longs, yes, even faints, for the courts of the Lord." He was not speaking of walls or temples alone, but of presence, of proximity, of being near the heartbeat of God. For there are places that bring peace to the body, but only His presence brings rest to the soul. He stands at the edge of the holy courts, the golden light of morning spilling over stone and cedar, the scent of incense drifting in slow curls toward the heavens. Pilgrims gather along the steps, their faces lined with the miles they've walked, but their eyes bright with anticipation. Each step closer to the temple feels like a step closer to life itself. He feels it too, that sacred pull, that trembling mixture of awe and longing. Every breath tastes of devotion. Every footfall hums with hope. The gates are still closed, but the nearness of them feels enough to quicken the heart. Take another slow breath, gentle and deep. Imagine yourself standing there beside Him. The air warm, the morning quiet. You feel the hush that always comes before entering a holy place. A peace that does not need sound, only stillness. He looks toward the temple and whispers, "My heart and my flesh cry out for the living God." It is not duty that brings him here, but desire, a yearning that no comfort of the world can fill. For every soul that has truly tasted peace will always find itself longing again for the source of it. The sun climbs higher, light spilling over the rooftops of Jerusalem, touching each pilgrim's face with gentle gold. And as he stands there, heart open, eyes lifted, he knows, blessed are those who dwell in this presence, for even their longing becomes worship. Take one final breath before resting, slow and full of peace. Let your heart be quiet, your spirit unhurried, You are already near the dwelling place of God. For his home is not only made of stone and song. It is wherever a heart opens to his peace. The morning softens into gold, and the city awakens with slow reverence, bells echoing faintly through the streets, sandals brushing over dusted stone, murmured greetings of travelers arriving from distant valleys. Among them walks the psalmist, his pace unhurried, his eyes lifted toward the holy hill that holds the temple. He is weary from the road, yet within that weariness, a quiet joy begins to bloom. His journey has not been easy, the path long, the sun harsh, the wind relentless at times, but every step has been sustained by a single thought: I am going home, not to a house of comfort or kin, but to the dwelling place of the Almighty, where rest is not just sleep, but presence, where peace is not earned, but received like morning light upon the face. Take a slow breath. Let it ease into your lungs. Hold it gently for a moment. Then release it, slow and smooth. As you exhale, imagine the weight of your day falling away. Each thought, each burden, each small heaviness, slipping quietly into God's keeping. He looks around at the other pilgrims, families carrying baskets and small offerings, children laughing softly beneath the watchful gaze of their parents, the old leaning on staffs, their eyes glistening with memory. Each of them carries something unseen, a hope, a prayer, a longing for God's peace to fill the empty places within them. And though they come from many lands, they share the same destination, the heart of divine dwelling. He whispers as he walks, "My heart and my flesh cry out for the living God." The words feel alive in his mouth, like breath turned to song. They rise above the dust, and for a moment, it seems even the air listens. For this is not the cry of despair, but of love, the yearning of the soul that knows where it belongs. He pauses along the path, looking up toward the temple's shining gates in the distance. The sunlight catches on the gilded roof, and the reflection gleams like fire. It looks alive, as though heaven itself has descended upon the mountain. He feels a shiver of reverence, not fear, but recognition. For deep within him, something whispers, "This is where I am meant to be." Take another slow breath. Let it travel through you like a soft wave. Feel how the body relaxes when it stops striving, how the heart settles when it remembers where it belongs. That is what the psalmist feels now, belonging. Not earned, not demanded, just known. He resumes his walk, and with each step, the sound of sandals brushing the road becomes a prayer. The rhythm of feet meeting earth, the cadence of breath between words, all of it joining the silent music of creation, the song of those who seek their true home in God. And as the temple grows nearer, the longing within him no longer aches. It hums. It glows. It becomes light itself. For the soul that yearns for home has already begun to arrive. Take one last deep breath, and let it fill you with peace. You are on the same journey, walking the same holy path of longing. Every breath, every pause, every whisper of prayer is one more step toward home in the presence of God. The road winds upward toward the temple, its stones smooth from centuries of pilgrim footsteps. The psalmist slows, not from fatigue, but from wonder, as his eyes lift to the sacred courts gleaming in the sunlight. The closer he draws, the quieter everything becomes, as though even the air holds its breath before the dwelling of the Holy One. He steps beneath the archway, the scent of cedar and incense mingling in the breeze. And for a moment, time feels suspended. The world beyond these walls, the noise of labor, the burden of duty, the ache of distance, all fall away. And what remains is a calm so complete. It feels like peace made visible. He looks toward the great altar, where prayers rise like thin smoke curling heavenward. And there, just beneath the eaves, he sees them, small birds nesting in the shadows of the sanctuary. A sparrow and a swallow, flitting gently between stone and light, their wings catching the glow as they settle near the sacred space, tiny and fearless before the throne of the Almighty. He smiles softly, the sight both simple and profound. Even the smallest creatures have found their home near his presence. He whispers, even the sparrow has found a house, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may lay her young, even at your altars, O Lord of hosts, my King and my God. Take a deep, slow breath, and imagine that stillness, the warm air of the temple court, the scent of burning myrrh, the flutter of gentle wings above you, every sound soft, every movement slow, the kind of quiet that does not ask you to be silent, but invites you to rest. He watches the birds for a long time, their small movements a hymn of their own. They are not striving to please, not laboring to prove their worth. They are simply home, safe beneath the shelter of divine presence. And in that realization, his heart settles deeper. If even the smallest creatures find rest near God's altar, how much more will the weary soul be welcomed there? He steps closer, the air warm against his face. He can feel the pulse of sacred life in every corner of the courtyard, the hum of unseen voices praising, the steady flicker of flame that never dies. He bows his head, not from fear, but from belonging. Take another slow breath. Hold it gently for a moment. Then release it like a sigh of surrender. Let your own spirit rest in that same thought, there is space for you near the altar. You do not need to strive. You do not need to earn. You have always had a place in the heart of God. The sparrow flutters upward again, disappearing into the beams. The swallow hums softly over her nest, the temple walls echoing her song like a lullaby. He closes his eyes, letting that song fill the silence within him. And he understands, the peace he seeks is not distant. It has wings, and it dwells here. He lifts his face toward the altar, whispering through a smile, "Blessed are those who dwell in your house. They will still be praising you." Take one last deep breath. Let that truth settle within you like the bird within her nest. Safe, seen, loved, home. The air within the temple courts is warm with the scent of cedar and frankincense, a still fragrance that settles into the soul like comfort after tears. The psalmist stands beneath the shadow of the altar, his eyes tracing the play of sunlight across carved pillars and golden panels. Every surface gleams. Every echo feels like a whisper of eternity. Around him, voices rise softly in praise. Not hurried, not forced, but gentle. A steady murmur of devotion that flows like a river of sound through the open halls. He listens, and the words feel alive, not written for ceremony, but breathed from hearts that truly know the presence they sing to. Blessed are those who dwell in your house. They will still be praising you. He feels the truth of it settle deep within. To dwell in the house of the Lord is not only to stand within its walls. It is to live in awareness of His presence, even beyond the gates, even in the ordinary hours of life. It is the gift of knowing that home is not a place of stone, but a condition of the heart. Take a slow, deep breath. Let it move through you like the quiet wind that stirs the temple curtains. With every inhale, imagine yourself surrounded by that same peace. With every exhale, let go of the noise that tries to follow you into sacred stillness. He watches an old priest moving quietly across the courtyard, his hands careful, his steps unhurried. Each movement feels like worship, each breath a prayer in motion. There is no rush here, because time itself feels slower in the presence of the eternal. The psalmist's gaze drifts toward a family kneeling by the steps, their faces lifted toward the altar light, their whispers too soft to hear, yet somehow their devotion fills the air with warmth. And he understands that those who dwell in this peace never truly leave it. They carry the stillness with them, wherever their path may lead. He kneels now, the stone cool beneath his hands, the same hands that have held a staff, a pen, a heart both fierce and frail. He lays them open upon his knees, empty, ready to receive whatever grace remains. The air thickens with quiet, not heavy, but holy, and in that quiet, He feels it, the pulse of something greater, the heartbeat of mercy flowing through the walls, through the earth, through every breath. He whispers, not to be heard, but to belong. Blessed, so blessed, are those who dwell in your house, for they live within your song. Take another deep, gentle breath. Let your body soften. Let your mind grow still. The same presence that filled that ancient temple fills this very moment with peace. Wherever you are now, that is holy ground, for his dwelling place is not far. It is here, within you. The voices in the courtyard swell again, a low hum of praise like wind through branches. The psalmist rises, but does not rush to leave, for he knows, to dwell in God's house is not a visit. It is a way of being. He turns toward the light that spills from the doorway, and with a quiet smile, steps forward into it, carrying the peace of the temple within his heart. Take one last breath before resting. Slow, calm, complete. Let it remind you that you too dwell in his house. Every breath, every moment, every gentle thought is part of the same eternal song of belonging. The temple stands quiet behind him now, but the peace it holds does not fade when he steps beyond its walls. It lingers within him like fragrance carried on wind, the memory of sacred stillness moving with him as he returns to the road. The path slopes downward from Zion's hill, through olive groves and wild fig trees, through sunlight and shadow intertwined. Each step feels lighter than before, not because the journey is easy, but because the burden of distance has been lifted. He walks with new strength now, the kind that is born not of muscle or will, but of spirit. The psalmist murmurs the words that rise naturally from his heart. Blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage. He knows what it means, for strength without direction falters, but a heart set upon God never loses its way. Take a deep, slow breath. Let it draw through you like wind through a valley. With each inhale, feel that invisible strength filling you. With each exhale, let go of the thought that you must travel alone. Even the journey itself is part of the blessing. He glances back one last time toward the temple gleaming above the city. The golden roof catches the light, the same light that now touches his face. And he smiles, for though his feet are moving away, his soul remains turned toward that holy dwelling. The road before him winds through the dry valleys of the land. Sparse shrubs cling to the earth. Stones scatter across the path. The air shimmers with the warmth of day. But even here, he feels no despair, for within his chest, he carries an unseen spring, the strength of those who trust the Lord. Every pilgrim he meets bears the same quiet radiance, eyes bright with faith, steps steady with purpose. Their laughter mingles with prayer, their weariness balanced by hope. They walk not just to arrive, but to become, to let the journey itself transform them into songs of devotion. Take another breath, long and calm. Imagine yourself walking among them, the sun warm on your shoulders, the sound of sandals brushing the earth, every step a rhythm of surrender, every mile a melody of trust. You do not hurry, for every breath of the journey is sacred, every pause a place of presence. He pauses beside a stream, rare water glinting through stone and sand. He kneels, cupping it in his hands, and drinks slowly. The coolness runs through him like a blessing. And he remembers, this is what strength feels like when it comes from grace. Not loud, not sudden, but deep, calm, enduring. He stands once more, looking toward the far horizon where the hills rise gently in layers of fading gold. The road still long, but the fear of distance gone. For the one who finds strength in God does not dread the path. He delights in it, knowing that every valley leads back toward home. Take one final breath, and let it settle within you like quiet courage. You do not walk toward God alone. You walk with Him, within Him, upheld by His strength, guided by His light. Even the miles become holy when the heart walks in trust. He takes another step forward, the sound of sandals meeting stone soft in the air, and the psalmist smiles as he whispers, "Blessed are those whose strength is in you, whose hearts are set on pilgrimage." The road bends and dips, leading the psalmist into a stretch of land known to all travelers, the Valley of Boca, the Valley of Weeping. It is a dry place, the air heavy with silence, the soil cracked from long seasons without rain. Few birds sing here, and even the wind seems to pass quietly, as though unwilling to disturb the sorrow that clings to this place. He slows his steps, his eyes tracing the parched earth beneath his sandals. There are remnants of old wells along the path, stone circles worn smooth by generations of hands that once drew water here. Now, they lie empty, but he knows. Those who walk with hearts set on God carry springs within them. Passing through the Valley of Boca, they make it a place of springs, he whispers softly, the words of the psalm rising from his memory like light from shadow. It is not the land itself that changes, but the travelers who move through it. Their faith draws life from the dry ground. Their hope becomes water for the weary. Take a deep, slow breath, and let it move through you like wind across quiet hills. With each inhale, imagine coolness spreading through the dry spaces within you. With each exhale, release whatever ache you have been carrying through your own valleys. For even the hardest journeys become holy when walked in the presence of the Eternal. He kneels beside one of the old wells, his hand brushing against the rim of stone. And he prays not for escape, but for transformation. Let this valley become a place of blessing. Let the dry places bloom with your mercy. The words are simple, but they carry the weight of truth. God does not always remove the valley. He fills it with himself. A faint breeze stirs, gentle and cool, moving over the cracked ground. Dust lifts and drifts like mist, and beneath it, a glimmer appears, a shallow pool reflecting the pale sky above. He smiles, not in surprise, but in recognition, for he has seen this before, how faith turns sorrow into song, how trust turns barren ground into promise. He dips his fingers into the clear water and lets it fall back onto the earth. Each drop a tiny benediction, each ripple a reminder that no valley stays dry forever. Even in sorrow, grace moves quietly, unseen, steady as breath. Take another slow breath. Feel it move through you like living water. Let it wash the dust from your thoughts, the heaviness from your heart. Let it remind you that every valley, no matter how deep, is temporary. What remains eternal is the one who walks with you through it. He rises again, the sound of sandals brushing softly over the earth. The valley is still quiet, but it feels lighter now, gentler. For once you have found springs within, even sorrow becomes a sacred place. He looks ahead toward the distant hills, and the light has shifted, golden now, touched with hope. He whispers again, passing through the valley of Boca. They make it a place of springs. The autumn rains also cover it with pools. The words linger in the warm air like a promise renewed. Take one last long breath before resting. Let it remind you that valleys do not last forever, that the heart filled with God will always find its way to water. He steps forward once more, and the valley behind him glows faintly, no longer a place of desolation, but of blessing. The valley stretches far behind him now, its once dry ground glistening with quiet pools, shimmering beneath the fading sun. Each pool catches the light like a mirror, small and still, reflecting not only the sky, but the unseen grace that made them possible. The psalmist pauses at the crest of a hill, turning back for a moment, and smiles softly. What was once barren now holds life, and the air carries a coolness that was not there before. He whispers gently, "They make it a place of springs, and the early rains cover it with pools." The words feel alive on his tongue, like water flowing between stones, soft, effortless, eternal. He realizes then, the springs that filled the valley did not come from the clouds above, but from the hearts of those who trusted while they walked. Every prayer, every tear, every step taken in faith became water for the next soul who would pass that way. Take a slow, Deep breath. Feel it rise gently within you like a spring bubbling up from the depths. Hold it for a moment. Then let it fall. Calm and steady. With each breath, imagine living water flowing quietly through the dry places of your own heart. He kneels beside one of the pools, the surface smooth and silver in the evening light. He dips his fingers in, and the ripples spread outward in circles, fading slowly, returning again to stillness. That stillness feels sacred, as though it holds the sound of God's own whisper, "Be still, and know that I am here." He cups the water in his hands, brings it to his lips, and drinks. It is cool,
pure,
alive, and in that taste, he feels something shift deep within. The fatigue of the road fades, replaced by quiet energy. The ache of the valley softens into memory, no longer wound, but wisdom. The sun begins to sink beyond the horizon, the sky turning to shades of amber and rose. The pools glow like liquid gold, scattered jewels across the valley floor. Birds return to rest upon the stones, their reflections mirrored in the calm water. Even creation seems to breathe easier now, as though it too has found its rhythm again. Take another deep breath, slow and even. Let it remind you that restoration comes quietly, not in rushing storms, but in gentle replenishing. God's mercy does not flood. It flows. It fills the cracks little by little, until the dry ground no longer remembers its thirst. He stands, his reflection rippling at his feet, and looks toward the distant hills where Zion waits. The path continues upward, but his heart feels lighter. He knows that these pools, these moments of rest, are not detours from the pilgrimage. They are gifts along the way, each one a reminder that the journey with God is never only endurance. It is renewal within motion. He whispers into the still air, "Blessed are those whose strength is in you. They go from strength to strength." The words feel both promise and praise, both gratitude and guidance. For even when he leaves this place, its waters will remain, feeding the roots of faith for those yet to come. Take one last slow breath before resting. Let it fill you with calm and quiet joy. You have walked through dry valleys, and now you stand beside living water. Rest here. Let your spirit drink deeply, for every moment of peace along the road is holy. He turns once more toward Zion, the pools behind him gleaming in the soft dusk. And with each step forward, the sound of trickling water follows him, a song of refreshment that will not fade. The night has not yet arrived, but the day has grown gentle, softened into that golden hour when light feels like silk upon the skin. The psalmist walks slowly now, no longer pushing against the road, no longer fighting the distance. For something within him has changed. The journey itself has become his strength. He breathes deeply. The air cool with the scent of damp soil and fig leaves. The sound of trickling water still echoes faintly behind him from the valley's pools. Each step he takes feels steady, peaceful, filled with purpose. He whispers softly. They go from strength to strength, till each appears before God in Zion. The words linger in the air like a melody sung under breath. They do not speak of constant victory, but of continuous renewal. A strength that replenishes. A faith that grows even through fatigue. Take a slow, deep breath. Let it fill you gently from the center of your chest. Hold it there for a heartbeat. Then let it go. As you exhale, imagine your soul exhaling every old weight, every heavy thought. And as the next breath comes, imagine light entering you. Calm, steady, strong. He glances upward toward the distant hills, still faintly golden beneath the setting sun. The path climbs again, winding through olive groves and the soft hum of evening insects. But his feet no longer feel weary. Each step has found rhythm with his heart. Each moment a quiet prayer. It is as though unseen hands lift him from within, moving him forward with grace rather than effort. He remembers how weak he felt when he first began, how the road seemed endless, the valleys too long, the heart too tired. But strength in God is different than strength in man. It does not rush. It does not demand. It grows quietly, like roots beneath soil, unseen but unshakable. The psalmist pauses beside a tree at the edge of the road, its trunk twisted by years of wind, yet its leaves full, green, shimmering in the low light. He rests his hand upon its bark, feeling the roughness beneath his palm. And he thinks, strength does not mean untouched by weather. It means rooted deeply enough to remain. Take another slow breath. Let it move through you like quiet courage. Let it remind you that your journey is not measured by how far you walk, but by how much you grow. Every trial, every valley, every pause, all become part of the same grace that strengthens the soul. The first stars begin to appear above him, faint glimmers against the darkening sky. The air cools, and the road grows quiet once more. He feels the peace of knowing that every step he takes is seen, every effort known, every weakness carried by the one who walks with him. He lifts his face toward the heavens, eyes reflecting the starlight, and whispers. They go from strength to strength, until each one appears before God in Zion. The words comfort him, for he knows he is still on the way, and that is enough. He takes another step, and another, each one small, yet sacred, each one filled with purpose and peace. take one last slow breath before resting. Let your heart remember. You are not growing weaker. You are being renewed. Strength is found not in arrival, but in every faithful step you take toward the light. The psalmist walks onward, the stars brightening above him, the song of his heart steady and calm. And in that quiet rhythm between steps and breath, he carries the truth that sustains all who journey, that every mile walked with God leads closer to joy. The road has become steep again, the final stretch rising toward the holy hill. Above him, Zion glows faintly beneath the starlight, a crown of gold against the dark horizon. Each breath now comes slow, deep, steady, not from weariness, but from reverence. For this is the place every pilgrim longs to reach, the place where heaven and earth seem to meet in quiet embrace. He pauses for a moment, standing beneath the night sky. The wind moves softly through the olive branches, the faint song of crickets blending with the rhythm of his breath. He lifts his face toward the glowing temple in the distance, and whispers. They go from strength to strength, each one appearing before God in Zion. The words tremble like prayer made visible, gentle and luminous in the dark. Take a slow, peaceful breath. Let the air move through you easily, filling you with stillness. With every inhale, imagine drawing nearer to the presence that has always waited for you. With every exhale, release the last remnants of striving, the last traces of self-effort. You are almost home. He continues forward, one step, then another. The city gates come into view, tall and strong, yet welcoming, carved with words of praise and promise. The guards nod as the travelers approach. For every face that arrives here bears the same light, the glow of those who have been strengthened by the journey. The psalmist crosses beneath the arch, and the sound of his footsteps echoes softly upon the stone. The city is quiet at this hour, the streets washed with moonlight, the air cool and clean. From somewhere deep within the temple courts, a faint melody drifts, low and serene. He follows the sound as though following his own heartbeat, each note drawing him nearer to the presence that called him here. When at last he reaches the temple steps, he stops, breathes, and lifts his eyes. The great doors are open, golden light spilling outward, flickering gently like the breath of God himself. He does not rush inside. He simply stands there, in awe, knowing that what he sought all along was not the destination, but the presence that met him along the way. Take another deep, unhurried breath. Let it fill you with peace. You have been walking your own journey too, through valleys, through silence, through days when faith felt heavy. But here, in this quiet moment, you too are standing before Zion, the place of meeting, the dwelling of peace. He steps forward at last, into the soft golden glow. The air is warm, filled with the hum of unseen prayer, the faint crackle of incense rising upward. And in that holy stillness, he feels the truth settle deep within, that every soul who seeks, who endures, who continues to walk, will one day stand before the presence of God and find rest. He closes his eyes, and the world around him fades into light. Every burden dissolved, every ache redeemed, every breath now a hymn of gratitude. He does not speak, for words feel small here. Instead, his silence becomes worship, his stillness, a kind of praise that even angels might envy. Take one last slow breath before resting. Let it remind you that every journey of faith ends not in distance, but in nearness. You are not far from peace. You are already standing within it. The psalmist bows low, the golden light resting upon his back like a mantle. And in that sacred hush, he knows he has appeared before God in Zion, and his soul has found home. The air within the temple courts is still, almost weightless, filled with a warmth that feels alive. The psalmist kneels near the threshold, his hands resting upon the cool stone, his eyes closed in reverence, his breath slow and steady. For a long time, he says nothing, because silence itself has become his prayer. He has walked far, through valleys of dryness and pools of grace, through weariness and renewal. And now, as he kneels before the dwelling of the Holy One, his heart is quiet, open, surrendered. When he finally speaks, his words are not elaborate, not rehearsed. They flow like water from a spring uncovered, clear, gentle, honest. O Lord God of hosts, hear my prayer. Give ear, O God of Jacob. The words rise softly through the air. They do not need to travel far, for the one he calls upon has been near all along. Take a deep, peaceful breath. Let it move through you like still water through a quiet pool. With each inhale, imagine the Spirit filling you with light. With each exhale, release every wordless ache that has waited in silence within you. He lifts his eyes toward the sanctuary, its light flickering across the golden walls. Every reflection seems alive, like fire breathing through calm air, like faith turning into flame. He continues, Behold, O God our shield, and look upon the face of your anointed. There is no demand in his voice, only desire, not for power, but for presence, not for reward, but for relationship. The light from the altar glows brighter as he prays, warm against his face. And in that glow, he feels peace flowing through him like gentle current. Prayer is no longer effort. It is breath itself, the rhythm of inhaling mercy and exhaling trust. He thinks of all those still walking the road behind him, pilgrims with tired feet and hopeful hearts. He prays for them too, for strength, for courage, for the same presence to meet them in their valleys as it has met him here. He prays that none will lose heart, that all will know the beauty of this nearness. Take another slow breath, long and calm. Let your heart echo that same prayer, not for things, but for closeness, not for answers, but for peace. For every prayer whispered in honesty becomes part of the same chorus of souls who seek their Maker. The psalmist bows his head again, his forehead resting lightly against the stone floor. And in that posture of surrender, he feels no distance between heaven and earth. The ground beneath him and the presence above him have become one. He breathes out, and his whisper mingles with eternity. Blessed are those who dwell in your house, for they will still be praising you. He lifts his face at last, eyes glistening in the soft glow. And though he has prayed, it feels as though heaven has spoken instead. For the peace within him now feels like an answer, one that does not end in sound, but in stillness. Take one last deep breath before resting. Let it move through you like gentle light. Let it remind you that prayer is not always spoken aloud. Sometimes it is the quiet turning of the heart toward home. He remains kneeling as the golden light sways softly around him. And as his breath slows, his heart whispers what words cannot. Thank you for hearing, for staying, for being home. The first light of dawn begins to touch the edges of the temple. Soft beams fall through the open archways, catching on dust and incense, turning the air to gold. The psalmist opens his eyes, and for a moment, he forgets the road behind him, the miles he walked, the valleys he crossed. For here, in this gentle glow, time itself feels stilled, replaced by peace so whole it needs no measure. He rises slowly to his feet, every movement deliberate, sacred. The sound of the priests preparing for morning prayers echoes faintly across the courtyard, the low hum of chanting, the clink of vessels, the rhythmic crackle of fire being kindled anew. The psalmist watches the light spill across the altar, and softly he murmurs, "For a day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere." The words fall into the morning like seeds upon fertile soil. They do not exaggerate. They reveal. For one moment of true nearness to God outweighs every comfort the world can give. It satisfies not just the body or mind, but the soul's oldest hunger. Take a slow, deep breath. Let the air move through you as gently as this light moves through the temple. With every inhale, feel yourself drawn into calm awareness. With every exhale, let go of the illusion that joy lives anywhere apart from God's presence. He walks along the outer court. The stones cool beneath his bare feet. A child runs past, laughing softly, chasing a dove that flutters upward into the beams of light. He watches her and smiles. Even her laughter feels like praise, free, simple, unguarded. The city beyond the gates begins to stir. Merchants opening stalls, voices rising in greeting, the faint sound of footsteps blending with the hum of life. He knows all of it is good, the world with its beauty and its motion. Yet he also knows there is nothing quite like this stillness, this holy awareness that saturates every breath within these courts. He steps closer to the altar and kneels once more. The warmth of the rising sun falls upon his shoulders, and his whisper joins the rustle of the morning breeze. For a day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather stand at the threshold of the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. Take another slow breath. Let the words become your own. 1,000 days of striving cannot give what one moment of divine nearness brings. Peace does not come from plenty, but from presence. It begins when the soul stops wandering and rests where it was always meant to dwell. He closes his eyes again, letting the sunlight bathe his face. He feels no need to speak further. The silence between his breaths is enough. It is worship without sound, communion without language. All around him, the temple hums with quiet life, birds in the rafters, footsteps in the corridors. And yet, beneath it all, there is stillness, the steady pulse of eternity beating through ordinary time. The psalmist breathes it in deeply and smiles once more. For in this single day, this single moment, he has found what many lifetimes could not offer. Take one last breath before resting. Slow, calm, whole. Let it remind you that one quiet moment of awareness, one breath lifted in gratitude, is worth more than 1,000 days lived without peace. He looks toward the open sky above the courtyard, the sunlight bright now upon the stones, and whispers softly, "This is enough. This day, this presence, this peace." The morning grows bright, yet soft, the kind of light that feels kind to the eyes, the kind that touches gently rather than dazzles. The psalmist stands near the entrance of the temple once more. The great doors are open, their golden hinges silent, the breeze moving freely in and out, carrying with it the mingled scent of myrrh and olive wood. He stands there, at the threshold, the line between inside and out, and feels the truth of his own heart settle within him. He whispers, "I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of wickedness." The words are simple, but they hold the weight of devotion. For to choose the threshold of God's presence, is to choose peace over power, humility over honor, nearness over comfort. The psalmist knows now, the smallest place in God's house is greater than the grandest place without Him. Take a deep, slow breath. Let it fill you like warm light through an open doorway. With every inhale, imagine yourself standing there too, on that threshold between striving and rest. With every exhale, imagine yourself stepping gently inward, into stillness, into grace. He looks outward first, toward the city stretching below, the hum of merchants rising, the bustle of the crowd beginning its day. There is beauty there, life in motion, but also noise, uncertainty, desire that never fully satisfies. Then he looks inward, into the still heart of the temple, the golden glow, the quiet voices of worship, the calm weight of presence that does not change. And between the two, he feels no hesitation. He lowers his gaze and smiles softly. The threshold beneath his feet feels like sacred ground, not because of grandeur, but because of nearness. He thinks of all who wander, all who chase peace through endless motion, and he wishes they could know that sometimes the smallest corner of God's dwelling is enough to contain all the joy the soul was made to hold. He steps just inside, feeling the air shift around him, cooler, stiller, almost alive. It rests upon his skin like a whisper, and he knows this is where he belongs. Not at the center, not upon a pedestal, but here, at the doorway, where heaven meets earth, where the sacred greets the seeking. Take another slow breath. Let it draw peace into every part of you. Let it remind you that holiness does not need distance. It welcomes closeness. It invites the humble in. There is room even at the edges of God's house for all who desire Him. He kneels near the doorway, one hand upon the stone threshold. The sun spills behind him from the open gate, while the light from the altar flickers before him. Between both lights, he finds balance, between the world he walks and the presence he adores. And in that balance, he finds peace that does not depend on place, but on posture. He whispers again, slower this time. I would rather stand at the threshold of the house of my God than dwell anywhere else. The words fall softly, like petals on still water, and their ripples move through him, through time, through every heart that has ever longed for home in the presence of the eternal. Take one final slow breath before resting. Let it remind you that you too stand at that same threshold tonight, the doorway between striving and surrender, between noise and quiet, between fear and peace. You need only step inward and rest. The psalmist bows his head once more, and the light from both worlds, the sun behind and the sanctuary ahead, meet upon his shoulders. In that glow, he feels completely at peace, blessed, to dwell even at the doorway of grace. The morning has lifted fully now, and the air shimmers with soft light spilling across the temple courts. The psalmist stands beneath an open arch, and the sun's warmth finds his face, gentle,
pure,
golden. He closes his eyes, letting the warmth seep through him, down to the bones that once carried weariness, to the heart that once carried longing. There is something divine in that warmth, something more than sunlight, something alive. He whispers quietly, "For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord bestows grace and glory." The words move like breath between worlds, prayer and poetry in the same heartbeat. A sun that gives light to the lost, and a shield that guards the weary from harm. Not distant, but present, as near as breath, as certain as dawn. Take a deep, unhurried breath. Let it fill you like sunlight through open air. With every inhale, imagine light settling into every shadow within you. With every exhale, imagine that same light wrapping around you, becoming protection, calm, strength. He remembers the long road, the valleys where shadows clung, the moments when the way ahead seemed endless. He remembers the loneliness that pressed against his chest like night, and the sudden peace that broke through it like dawn. And he knows now, the Lord was his sun all along, guiding, warming, illuminating the steps that once felt uncertain. He looks toward the great bronze shields that line the outer wall, polished to brilliance, gleaming in the rising light. The reflection catches his eyes. Hundreds of circles of gold burning softly in the air. They remind him of God's protection. Not hard or heavy, but radiant, alive. A shield not meant to isolate, but to surround in gentleness. He stretches his hands outward, palms open toward the sky, and the light gathers along his fingers, turning the air around him to gold. He whispers again, "You are my sun when I lose sight of morning, my shield when I forget that I am safe." The words feel like a vow, and like peace returning home. Take another slow, steady breath. Let the warmth of grace spread through your chest. Let the quiet certainty of God's protection settle over you like a soft mantle. There is no place where His light does not reach. No moment where His care does not stand between you and despair. He lowers his hands, feeling the warmth linger, and it occurs to him that sunlight and shield are not opposites. They are two sides of the same mercy, illumination and refuge, revelation and rest. He smiles faintly, eyes half closed, because to walk with God is to live in both, the light that guides, and the covering that guards. All around him, the temple glows brighter, The gold of the pillars gleams like flame. The white stone hums with quiet life. Even the air seems alive, filled with soft radiance that does not fade. And the psalmist's heart echoes the same refrain: "The Lord God is my sun and my shield." Take one more deep breath before resting. Let the air warm and calm you. Feel light where there was once darkness, and peace where there was once fear. For the one who shines upon you also shelters you. He lifts his face to the heavens, eyes glistening in the brightness, and whispers, "You are both the dawn that finds me, and the hand that keeps me safe." And in that glow of faith and calm, the pilgrim heart rests completely. The air shimmers softly within the temple court, the gold of morning deepening into white light.
Pure.
Alive. Still. The psalmist stands in quiet wonder beneath it, breathing slowly, his hands resting open at his sides. The sunlight feels gentle now, no longer bright with heat, but full of warmth that feels like blessing itself. He whispers softly, "The Lord bestows grace and glory." The words come not as recitation, but as realization. He has felt grace in the valley, grace in the climb, grace in the silence. And now, he feels glory, not his own, but the quiet glow of being seen and loved by God. Take a slow, deep breath. Let the air flow through you like light through water. With every inhale, imagine grace filling the spaces where effort once lived. With every exhale, imagine glory resting upon you, not brilliance that blinds, but peace that glows quietly from within. He looks toward the altar and sees the morning fire still burning, a steady flame that neither roars nor fades. Its glow reminds him of the road behind him, the valleys transformed, the springs that appeared in barren ground, the light that never left. Grace was there in every step, carrying him unseen, and glory is here now, reminding him that none of it was in vain. He kneels, his forehead touching the cool stone, and he whispers, "You have crowned the humble with favor. You have lifted the weary into your light." The words tremble, but they are strong, for he understands, grace is not given to the deserving, but to the trusting. And glory is not a reward, but the reflection of having walked with God through both shadow and dawn. Outside, the city hums with new life. Merchants arrange their stalls. Children chase one another through narrow streets. Life continues, ordinary and beautiful. And yet, above it all, the presence within the temple remains steady, unchanging, eternal. Take another slow breath, long and calm. Let the thought of grace wash over you, not earned, not bargained for, only given, freely, faithfully, endlessly. and let the truth of glory rest quietly upon your heart. It is not loud. It is not far away. It is the quiet radiance of being loved by God. The psalmist rises slowly, his eyes soft, his expression peaceful. He looks around him, at the pillars, the flame, the light, and sees all of it not as grandeur, but as reflection. The temple gleams because of the presence within it, and he understands that so too does the human soul. When filled with God's grace, it too becomes radiant, even in silence. He steps toward the entrance again, sunlight spilling across his face, and he whispers, "The Lord will give grace and glory. No good thing does he withhold from those who walk uprightly." It is not a boast, but a vow of trust, a promise not of ease, but of abundance, abundance of peace, of purpose, of nearness. Take one last slow breath before resting. Let grace fill you like breath itself. Let glory rest upon you like sunlight through leaves. For the same God who walked with the psalmist through valleys and peaks, walks with you now, bestowing grace, bestowing glory, with every breath you take. He turns his face once more toward the light, eyes half closed, and in the hush of morning he feels it, the quiet joy of being both held and illuminated by mercy. The sun climbs higher above Zion, its rays soft yet strong, spilling over the temple walls like golden streams of blessing. The psalmist stands within the courtyard, surrounded by the warmth of morning, the murmur of gentle voices, and the peace that lingers after prayer. He breathes in slowly, the air rich with the scent of incense and cedar smoke. And as he exhales, a smile softens his face. He whispers, "No good thing does he withhold from those who walk uprightly." The words fall into the silence like drops of rain into a still pool. They ripple outward, touching the edges of his heart, filling him with quiet gratitude. For he knows now, goodness is not the absence of sorrow, but the presence of mercy through it. Take a deep, unhurried breath. Let the air fill your chest softly. With every inhale, imagine the certainty of God's care surrounding you. With every exhale, release every thought that still wonders if you are forgotten. For no good thing is withheld, not peace, not purpose, not love. Even the waiting, even the silence, is gift when held in trust. He looks toward the altar flame again, its steady glow rising against the blue of morning. That fire is not wild or loud, but patient, enduring. It has burned through long nights and quiet dawns, sustained by unseen hands. And he understands, this is how God gives. Not in flashes, but in constancy. He turns and sees a family entering through the courtyard gate. Their clothes simple, their hands carrying a small basket of grain and oil. A child walks beside them, eyes wide with awe. The psalmist smiles, for they too have come not to ask for more, but to give thanks for what already is. He whispers again, this time almost to himself. No good thing does he withhold, and in his heart he finishes the thought. Even when I do not see it, even when I do not yet understand it. Take another slow breath. Let that thought settle deep within you. There is goodness even in what feels unfinished. There is blessing even in what has not yet arrived. God's timing is not delay. It is perfection unfolding quietly. He steps closer to the outer wall, his hand brushing the cool stone. The city hums softly below, full of noise and need, yet he feels none of its unrest. For within this peace, he knows, goodness is not something to be gained, but revealed. Like sunlight waiting behind clouds, ready to break through in its time. The psalmist lifts his eyes to the sky, the same sky that stretches over every valley and every home. He whispers, you do not withhold. You only wait for the moment that will bless us most. And in that confession, his spirit feels light, for trust has replaced striving. Gratitude has silenced fear. Take one last deep breath before resting. Let the air carry peace through every part of you. Let your soul feel safe in the knowledge that nothing truly good will ever be lost. What is meant for you will find you. What is withheld is only being prepared. The psalmist turns toward the temple once more. The light from above glows upon his face, and he smiles gently, for he knows this is enough, to walk in his ways, to trust his timing, to rest in his goodness. The day deepens, sunlight resting warmly upon the stones of the temple, the hum of quiet life flowing gently through its courtyards. The psalmist stands once more near the great doorway, the same threshold he lingered at when dawn first broke. But now, his heart feels different. He no longer stands as a visitor, but as one who belongs. He runs his fingers lightly across the carved wood of the gate, tracing the lines of the ancient designs, vines winding upward, leaves curling toward heaven, symbols of life and continuity. He remembers the words he once whispered, I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. And now, he understands them not as humility alone, but as joy. For this doorway, this place of pause between the world and the holy, has become a sacred meeting place for his soul. Take a slow, peaceful breath. Let it ease through you like sunlight through open air. With each inhale, imagine yourself standing there too, before the door of peace. With each exhale, imagine stepping inward, leaving behind every worry that cannot follow you into God's presence. He leans against the pillar beside the door, watching those who enter and those who leave. Some come with offerings in their hands, others with tears in their eyes. Some pause before entering, their faces still as prayer. All of them, in their own way, are pilgrims of devotion. He realizes that being near the doorway is not a lesser place. It is a calling to stand where heaven meets earth, where the weary find rest, where hearts decide whether to step into stillness or turn back to noise. And he feels honored to stand there, quietly, faithfully, to be part of the rhythm of souls drawing near to peace. He whispers softly, "Better the doorway of devotion than the halls of distraction. Better one breath in your presence than 1,000 spent elsewhere." His voice fades into the hum of the morning, blending with the sound of sandals against stone. But the prayer remains, lingering like fragrance in the air. Take another deep breath. Let it move through you like a slow river of calm. Let it remind you that devotion is not only found in grand gestures. It is found in standing still, in showing up, in choosing peace again and again. The psalmist looks outward now, toward the city beyond the walls. He sees the bustle, the beauty, the endless motion. And yet, here in this place of pause, he feels none of its hurry, none of its hunger. For this doorway has taught him something sacred, that true nearness to God is not measured by distance or title, but by desire. He lowers his head, closing his eyes for a moment, and in the quiet, he senses the breath of the Almighty move gently through the air. Soft, unseen, but unmistakably near. It touches his skin, rests upon his heart, and the threshold beneath his feet feels alive, glowing with the peace of presence. Take one more slow breath before resting. Let it fill you with stillness. You two stand upon the same threshold, between noise and quiet, between striving and surrender. And in that place, the smallest step towards stillness becomes worship. The psalmist opens his eyes again, the world bright with holy calm. He smiles faintly and whispers, "Here, at the doorway of devotion, I have found my peace." The afternoon sun begins its quiet descent. The light softens, turning golden at the edges, wrapping the temple in a gentle hush. The psalmist sits upon the steps near the inner court, his hands resting loosely upon his knees, his breath steady, calm, like the slow rhythm of a song remembered. All around him, the murmur of prayer drifts through the air, soft voices rising and falling like wind moving through a field of grain. It is peaceful here, but the peace he feels is not only around him, it is within him. He has walked far, crossed valleys of dust and pools of renewal, climbed hills of weariness and wonder. And now, he has found what every pilgrim truly seeks, not a place alone, but a posture of heart, a dwelling not made by hands, but by stillness. He whispers softly, "Blessed are those who dwell in your house. They are ever praising you." And he realizes that to dwell in God's house is not to remain in a building, but to carry the temple within, a steady peace that follows wherever faith abides. Take a slow, deep breath. Let it move through you like calm wind through tall grass. With every inhale, imagine that peace filling you, warm, gentle, whole. With every exhale, imagine every tension releasing, every thought loosening its hold, until your spirit rests completely in the quiet of God's care. He opens his eyes. The world before him bathed in honeyed light. Shadows stretch long across the courtyard. Doves coo softly from the rafters, and the faint rustle of leaves whispers of evening approaching. He feels the presence around him, not as thunder or brilliance, but as quiet companionship. There is no more striving left in him, only still gratitude. He looks inward and sees how peace has settled deep in his chest, not as fleeting emotion, but as foundation. This is what it means to dwell, to stay rooted in calm even as life moves, to remain anchored in love even when the world shifts around you. Take another slow breath. Let the air enter softly. Let it remind you that peace is not the absence of movement, but the presence of God within every moment. You do not have to chase it. You need only allow it to rise. The psalmist closes his eyes again, and the words that come to him now are not written, but felt. Your house is my heart, and my heart is your dwelling. For you have made peace my companion, and worship my rest. The sentence flows like light through him, and he smiles faintly, for he understands that devotion and peace are not opposites, they are the same breath, drawn from the same spirit. The temple bells ring softly in the distance, a signal of the approaching evening prayer. Their tone echoes through the chambers, low and warm, and with each sound, he feels his own heartbeat align with it, steady, rhythmic, peaceful. Take another deep breath. Let your heart beat slow. Let your mind quiet. You are not far from God. You are within his dwelling even now. The peace you seek has already found you. The psalmist rises slowly to his feet, his movements unhurried. He looks around one last time, at the fading sunlight, the golden walls, the gentle shadows, and he knows, even when he leaves this place, the dwelling will not leave him. For once the heart has found peace in God's presence, it carries that home wherever it goes. Take one last long breath before resting. Let it fill you with warmth and stillness. Let it remind you that the truest sanctuary is within. where his spirit abides, where your soul is forever home. The psalmist bows his head slightly, whispering into the quiet air, "Blessed am I to dwell in your house, even when I walk beyond its walls." Evening comes softly to Zion, the light of day fading into a lavender dusk, shadows growing long beneath the olive trees that line the temple walls. The psalmist lingers near the gate, watching the slow rhythm of the city as it exhales into rest. The golden glow upon the stone begins to dim, replaced by the silver calm of twilight. And with each breath, the world seems to grow quieter, gentler, closer to stillness. He closes his eyes, and the words of his own heart return to him. This house, this place of beauty, is not the only dwelling of the Lord. For as he stands there, he feels the pulse of something deeper, a sanctuary that breathes within him, a temple not built by human hands. Take a slow, deep breath. Let it settle softly into your chest. With every inhale, imagine that inner temple glowing faintly within you, calm, safe, alive with peace. With every exhale, imagine all noise and striving fading away, until only stillness remains. He remembers the long road, the valleys, the sunlight on the pools, the sound of wind across the stones, and how, in every place, in every silence, he had felt something holy beside him. It was not bound by walls, nor limited to sacred ground. The presence he sought here in Zion had already been walking with him all along. He opens his eyes again, the stars now beginning to appear above the temple roof. Faint glimmers of light scattered across the indigo sky. He whispers softly, "Even heaven itself cannot contain you. Yet you dwell within the heart that welcomes you." And the thought fills him with quiet wonder, that the God of creation, the maker of stars and stone, chooses to dwell within the fragile stillness of a human soul. He takes another breath, slower now, deeper, the air cool against his skin. And in that breath, he feels connection, heaven above, earth beneath, peace between. He realizes the walls of this sacred house are only symbols, reminders of a truth far greater, that God's home is wherever love and trust are kept alive. Take another slow breath. Let it flow gently through you. Let it remind you that the holiest sanctuary is not found in distant places, but in the quiet of your own heart. Each prayer whispered, each moment of surrender, becomes part of that unseen dwelling. He turns slowly toward the open city beyond the gate. The streets bathed in silver moonlight. He can hear laughter in the distance, the soft chatter of families returning home. And he smiles. For even there, in those ordinary sounds, he hears worship. Every act of kindness, every moment of gratitude, Every breath offered in peace is part of that eternal house of God. He whispers again, barely more than a breath. The Lord, my dwelling place, through all generations, before there was stone or sun or sky. And as the words leave his lips, he feels no boundary between the sacred and the simple, between the holy and the human. All is one. All is held. All is home. Take one last long breath before resting. Let it fill you with serenity. Let it remind you that God's dwelling is within you now. Constant. Radiant. Near. Wherever you go, you carry the temple with you. And wherever you rest, he rests too. The psalmist lifts his gaze to the stars one final time. The city quiet. The temple still. The night alive with peace. And in that soft darkness, he whispers, "The house not built by hands is built within my heart." Night has fully descended upon Zion, the temple wrapped in quiet shadow, the air cool and fragrant with cedar and myrrh. The psalmist sits alone upon the outer steps, the city below him hushed beneath a sky woven with stars. Each light above shimmers softly, 1,000 small flames suspended in the silence of heaven. And in their glow, he feels the vastness of eternity, endless, still, near. He breathes slowly, deeply. The long road that once stretched before him now lies behind. And though his feet rest upon stone, his soul feels as though it has come to its true dwelling. Not only here, in this holy city, but in the heart of peace itself. He whispers quietly, "Blessed are those who dwell in your house, for their rest is forever." The words drift upward like smoke, delicate, unhurried. They rise into the night, into the same still sky that has watched over pilgrims for centuries. And he knows, every soul that has ever longed for God finds this same rest at the end of its journey. Take a slow, peaceful breath. Let the air move softly through you. With each inhale, imagine eternity breathing with you. Gentle, patient, unending. With each exhale, let go of every thought of striving, every idea of having to arrive. For in God, there is no distance left to travel. He closes his eyes, and in the darkness behind them, light still glows. Not the light of the temple, nor the stars above, but something deeper. The kind of light that asks nothing, that simply is. The presence that does not fade when eyes are closed. The peace that remains when all sound has gone. He realizes, this is the eternal resting place, not a faraway realm, not an unreachable heaven, but the stillness of the soul in the arms of its Creator. For heaven begins wherever trust has replaced fear, wherever love has silenced doubt, wherever peace has chosen to dwell. Take another slow breath. Let it move through you like a tide that never recedes. Let it remind you that your soul has always been known, always been held, always been home. The body travels, the heart searches, but the spirit has never left its resting place in God. He opens his eyes again, the stars glimmering softly above him. He looks out over the rooftops of the city, their quiet forms bathed in moonlight, and whispers, "One day, all will return to this peace. Every heart, every breath, every wandering soul." The sound is faint, but in the stillness it feels eternal, as though creation itself pauses to listen. He leans back slightly, resting his shoulders against the stone pillar behind him. The air cool against his skin, the night deep and kind. And he knows that rest is not the end of the journey, but its true purpose. To come home to peace, to dwell in presence, to rest in love that does not change. Take one last deep breath before resting. Let it fill you with quiet eternity. Let it remind you that peace is not a passing state, but your truest home. You are not far from heaven. You are already resting in its shadow, already held in its light. The psalmist smiles faintly, his eyes half closed. The stars above shimmer like gentle promises, and in that sacred stillness he whispers, "My soul has found its resting place, forever in you." The night has grown still, so still that even the wind seems to pause in reverence. The stars shimmer quietly above Zion, reflections of a greater light that cannot be contained by sky or temple. The psalmist sits in the calm glow of the final embers, the scent of cedar faint in the cool air, the sound of the city far below softened into silence. He breathes slowly, deeply, letting the rhythm of that sacred quiet settle deep within. He has walked far. He has prayed. He has wept and sung. He has felt the ache of distance and the joy of arrival. And now, he feels only peace, a peace that does not depend on place, but on presence. The pilgrimage has ended, but the dwelling has just begun. He whispers softly, "Blessed are those who dwell in your house, for they will still be praising you." The words no longer rise as request, but as realization. He understands now, to dwell in God's house is not to visit, but to remain, to live every breath in awareness of divine nearness, to let every thought rest in trust, every heartbeat hum with gratitude. Take a slow, peaceful breath. Let it draw in like soft light through open air. With each inhale, imagine the calm of eternity filling you. With each exhale, imagine every worry dissolving into that stillness, until only love remains. The moon climbs high above the temple roof, silver light spilling over stone. The psalmist tilts his face upward, his eyes reflecting that gentle glow. And for a moment, he feels it, heaven not as a place above, but as peace surrounding all things. Every sound, every breath, every star, alive with the same presence that now lives within him. He closes his eyes, and his heart whispers a final prayer, not of need, but of belonging. You have been my sun when I could not see, my shield when I could not stand. You have been grace in the valley, glory in the climb, home in the silence. The words trail off, but the meaning remains. Love has brought him home. Take another long, slow breath. Let it move through you like the gentle tide of rest. You too are dwelling now, not visiting, not waiting, simply being. In this still moment, you are home in his presence. The psalmist lowers his head, eyes closing fully now. The cool stone against his back feels like the embrace of the earth, and the air around him hums softly with peace. There is no fear of night, for the light of the Lord fills even the darkness. No worry for tomorrow, for goodness and mercy have followed him all the days of his life. The stars gleam brighter now, the city below wrapped in tranquil silence. And somewhere within that quiet, a dove coos softly from the temple rafters, a lullaby of peace echoing through sacred halls. He breathes once more, and it feels like the whole world breathes with him. Take one final breath before sleep. Let it be slow, gentle, complete. The same presence that filled the temple fills this moment. The same peace that held the psalmist holds you now. Rest in the dwelling of the eternal. Rest in the love that neither leaves nor fades. Rest in the light that never ends. For you are home, forever, in his presence.